Good morning, Matthew. Allison. Hello, please, can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, Chinedu, we can hear you. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Good morning, Chinedu, we can hear you.
So thanks to everybody for joining in. Good morning, Matthew Konu. Good morning, Mrs. Adejoke. Good morning, Mrs. Jumoke. Please, we're just waiting for Dr. Adetayo to join in, and then we'll begin with our session. We thank you for taking the time out to join us today. Hello, Mazi. Good morning. Please, can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly, unless you can't hear me.
All right. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Mrs. Adejoke, please, can you hear me? Good morning, Mrs. Jumoke. Please, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, then. All right, then. All right. So please, we're just waiting for for Dr. Adetayo to join in, and then we'll begin with the event.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mazi Konu, Mrs. Jumoke Olowokere, Mrs. Adejoke Lasisi. I just want to say thank you very much. I know that, we all have a very busy schedule, but thank you so much for taking out time to join the session this morning.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My Presi, Mazi, good morning.
Morning, Jumoke. How are you doing?
Good morning. Nice to see you and hear your voice this morning.
Awesome. Same here.
Yeah, how have you been?
Ibadan girl, I can see you.
We apologize. We are trying to reach Dr. Akintayo. As soon as we have some word from him, we'll begin with the event. Dr. Akintayo just sent us a message. He will be joining us as the event goes on. I hope everyone's doing well this morning. I hope everyone's okay. Hello, please, if you can hear me. Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
All right then. So good morning. Once again, my name is Tumebi Okeke, and I'm representing Free Recycle Limited. Now, Free Recycle is a company that specializes in recycling waste tires and converting these waste tires into products, into rubber products like that have been used in places like schools, like gyms, and various commercial and industrial outfits. Over the few years that we have been in operations, we have been able to partner with industry giants like BASF, Michelin, Bank of Industry, International Red Cross, to mention a few. Now, this panel session is part of a week-long event to mark Free's name change. Now, we started on Monday and Tuesday with donation of playgrounds to schools in Ibadan. On Wednesday, we had the name change event proper, where our company went from being Freetown Waste Management Recycle Limited to being Free Recycle Limited. And the purpose of our name change itself was simply to align our corporate identity with our brand. Today, we are supposed to have 6 panelists, but we have 5 around now. They are Mazi Alison Ukonu. Mazi Alison is the president of the Recyclers Association of Nigeria. He's the co-founder of Recycle Points Nigeria. We also have Mrs. Adejoke Lasisi. She is the founder of 3R and Joke Linked Living School. We have Mr. Obagiri. Oh, sorry, Mr. Obagiri has not joined us as well. But we will try to have him. But Mr. Obagiri is part of our panelists, and he is Oyo State Regional Coordinator for Nesria. We also have Mrs. Jumoke Oluwoke. Now, Mrs. Jumoke is the founder of the Waste Museum, and she's the initiator of the PP40 Waste to Playground initiative. We are supposed to have Dr. Akintayo Adisa. He is the project manager for BASF Nigeria's chem cycling projects. And finally, we have the managing director of Free Recycle Limited, Mrs. Ifedola Korunshiri. Now, our event is supposed to be an interactive session, so I'm just going to take some time to lay some ground rules. We're going to have a bit of some questions that will be asked. We call them talking points, things that shed a bit more light or that provide a bit more insight into the state of recycling in Nigeria. And every panelist is going to be given, we'll call them 2 questions, 2 talking points that they might choose to elaborate on. Now, every panelist has between 2 and 3 questions, or 2 and 3 minutes to explain or to answer their questions, and we implore that they will stick with that time so that other panelists can have time to, also talk about theirs. And then finally, we have a Q&A session. We'll have a Q&A session where members from the audience might send in their own questions in case they have clarifications that they would like to have made by the panelists. So we hope that everybody, including our panelists and everybody from the audience, will have a good time with the event that we have planned out today. So I'm just going to jump right straight to it. Mazi Ukonu, good morning, sir. Please, can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly, unless you can't hear me.
Sir. All right, sir. Thank you for joining us today. We are very, 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 very grateful for you to take the time. We're sure you're very, very busy man. But the very first question that we're going to be asking is for you to just give us a brief overview of what it means to be a recycler in Nigeria. Now, before we go ahead, please, I would like everybody to know that this event is being broadcast live across all our social media platforms. It is also live on Facebook. It is live on YouTube at the moment. So for a company that has been featured by Reuters, has been featured by BBC, we actually have a lot of people that are following this event as we are speaking. So please, Mazi Ukonu, your expert opinion on what needs to be recycled in Nigeria, sir.
Thanks so much, and this is a very nice question, and it's a pleasure to be here. To be part of this particular program that is, heralding a new brand name for a Free Recycle Limited. clearly, I stand from that position to be able to, first of all, eulogize what is happening at Free Recycle Limited, because it's quite innovative and it is unique. And it is one of the things that has clearly put Nigeria on the map when it comes to, having to identify with certain ideas and activities within the recycling ecosystem. So what Free Recycle Limited is doing is clearly unique. It puts us in the map when it comes to tire recycling, and it's an area that clearly needs, commendation for Dolapo and the entire team. To clearly say by the question what it means to be able to recycle in Nigeria, it is one that calls for the attention of everyone, to be able to understand clearly what recycling means and the benefits it brings to, a country like Nigeria. We use certain terms most times that become very ambiguous for the ordinary man in the street to understand that, okay, recycling means this, or it brings so and so benefits. One of the most bogus terms is when we say that recycling facilitates a circular economy. It becomes also very challenging for people to understand. But in simple terms, for anybody to understand, recycling clearly informs that when we use items, whatever item it is, as users, we are consumers. When we use items and we are done with those items, there is a possibility for that item to be able to be put to use again, either at the same state at which it is or in a processed state. And that is what recycling is all about. The ability for us to be able to take a material after its use and then put it back into a good a process that actually makes it useful again. And the benefit that brings is that it helps us conserve the resources that has been put in place to be able to get that item in place in the first place. I think there's a background noise coming in from someone. So it helps us to be able to get that item to be able to be used again. And that is what recycling is. And it has actually become a mainstay in Nigeria because a lot has been seen and said that Nigeria is a consumer-driven nation. We are a nation of about 200 million people, and we don't produce a lot, unfortunately. So most of the stuff that comes to us is actually one that informs that we are a consumer-driven nation. And that means that we get a lot of things imported into our country for our use, from electronics to various types of packaging items for the food, beverage, and all the other industrial sectors. So for us to be able to talk about recycling, we see it as an opportunity, a huge opportunity for us to be able to deploy at the end of the life cycle of most of the items that we are using or we find ourselves using as consumers, for us to be able to deploy them, to be able to harness whatever value that we can get from them. So that is what recycling is all about. And it cuts across various sectors in the country. There is no sector that you wouldn't see that can leverage the term recycling for its benefit, be it like I said, the electronics industry, the food, beverage industry, the agricultural sector, the industrial sector, everywhere that you find an item that is being used. After its use, there is need for us to be able to see what value that can be gotten instead of discarding those items as waste, which will help get them to end up in places like a dump site or landfill where they can be burnt, and that would be even further hazardous because it releases gases into the atmosphere that we continue to say that leads to climate change. So recycling is an aspect that we see is very important for a nation like Nigeria. And I'm very happy to say that it is something that has caught on. A couple of companies are leading that revolution in various aspects. for which Free Recycle Limited is one of it when it comes to tire recycling. There are others that are leading the charge with regards to plastic recycling. Others are also very good in electronics and electronic waste recycling. And it is all that everybody that is clearly understanding the need for us to do this, is putting their heads together, innovating, collaborating, and creating, most importantly, good green jobs and sources of livelihood. And for those that are exporting, it's also creating, revenue, both forex revenue and increasing the GDP that we have. So recycling is an aspect that is happening now in Nigeria. It's a revolution, and it is very, very welcome development that we are speaking about it today.
Thank you very much, Mazi. That was very, very insightful. So just to clear up, the points where recycling is for resource conservation and for economic development. So thank you very much, sir. We'll go on to our next question, and it follows very closely to what Mazi Kono has said. And this question is for Mrs. Jumoke Oluwokere. Mrs. Jumoke, please, can you hear me? Hello, Mrs. Jumoke.
I can hear you.
Okay, ma. So, following the idea that Mazi Kono has laid down, now to aid the understanding of the audience, so can you just help clear up what it means to recycle as a different idea from what it means to upcycle?
Okay, thank you so very much. I'm so honored to be here. And that's a very good question that I always like to answer. And the way I like to answer it is a very simple form. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me clearly? Can you hear me? Are you hearing
Yes,
me?
you can, ma'am.
Okay, so recycling, when we're talking about recycling, we're talking about taking the waste, any kind of waste, and then breaking it down, using it to create or produce another product using the help of machines. So for example, if I want to give an example of that, I would say, okay, let's use plastic bottle, for example. So you take that plastic bottle, you break it down through the help of a machine, you turn it into crumbs, from turning it into flakes, you turn it into strings, from turning it into strings, and then you turn it into a t-shirt, for example, or use it to do something else. Or like what Free is doing recycling. They take the tires, they break it down, and then they put it through a machine, and it comes out with those beautiful interlocking floors that we all love so much. Now, upcycling, on the other hand, is to take that same waste, you are adding value to the two, but each of them requires different skills and different machineries. But for upcycling is you take that waste, you add one or two things to it, give it another value without necessarily using machine. It means that in upcycling, you can use simple machine. For example, let me give you an example. Check out my herrings. My herrings is from bottle covers, plastic bottle covers. This is an example of upcycling. I did not need any machine to break the bottle covers down. I did not have to pass it through any machine. I just added some little sequence and some little chain to it, and it turned to an herring that somebody will be willing to pay for. So that is upcycling. So upcycling and recycling, they are both achieving the same same thing, but they are from different aspects. Recycling, you need big machineries, you need a lot of people to join hands, you need a team. But upcycling, anybody can do it. You can do it, I can do it. I can come up with an upcycled item in 2 minutes. So I hope I've been able to answer that question. Simple term.
Thank you very much for that insightful response. So the next question we are going to be sending to Mrs. Adejoke Lasisi. Mrs. Joke, please, can you hear me? Seems like we lost Mrs. Adejoke. So I'm just going to go on to the next one, or I'm just going to ask the question anyway, and perhaps we'll send it over to you, Mrs. Jumoke, so you can just follow up. So how, in your opinion, do you think that the public will profit from education on recycling?
Education is the first thing that we have to do, because many people are not recycling today because they actually don't know. People don't have an idea that the problem or the decisions or the choices they are making in their little rooms or in their big rooms is actually affecting the environment. You know, there's this general lack of knowledge, lack of education, lack of insight, lack of awareness to think, oh, I got my product, I use my product, and I dispose my product anyhow I like. If I drop my waste in the dustbin, I don't care whatever it is that happens to the waste. Somebody's going to come pick it up. How is that my business trying to trace how my waste or where my waste ends at? Do you understand? So basically, the problem we are facing, that everybody's facing right now, is as a result of lack of education, lack of awareness, lack of information. I realize that when people know the impact, the effect of the choices they make in their rooms, how it affects the environment, people are readily willing to change. At least 50%, 70% of people that we've met, once we let them realize the importance of and the importance of why they have to make a waste audit or make sure that they know where their waste is ending to, and we show them what they can use their waste to do, they easily change. So if people are not educated, then they will continue heading towards the drain as we're looking. So education, and that is why we focus on education at the Waste Museum, because if you know, then you are willing to take that chance, you are willing to take that step, you are willing to make that change. So I will say education is actually the foundation. That's what everybody should start doing. We must educate others, because when you educate them, then you have empowered them, and then they can take that action that we require.
Thank you very much, Miles. This is actually very nice to hear you speak so passionately about educating people on the advantages of conserving their resources and taking care of the environment. But before we go further, I would like to recognize the presence of Dr. Akintayo Adisa. He's from BASF. Like I said earlier, he's the project coordinator for BASF's Cycling project in Nigeria. And our organs at the top, Nesria. Mr. Obagiri Durosimi has joined us as well. So our panel is complete. I think we lost Mrs. Adejoke sometime. I hope she reconnects. But just going straight, we'll go on to the next question. So, and this question is from Mr. Obagiri. Sir, you have arrived just in time, sir. We thank you for showing up. Please, sir, can you hear me?
Thank you. I can hear you very well, loud and clear.
All right. Sir.
You cannot see me. My video is you lock it.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, sir. We will have your video on locked as soon as possible. But sir, your question is this: what are the added benefits? What added benefits would you suggest that recycling would provide to the government's current waste management efforts and other environmental management objectives that are existing today?
Madam, I can't hear you very well.
Look.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take the question again.
Okay.
All right, sir. So what added benefits would you suggest recycling would provide to the government's current waste management efforts and other environmental management objectives?
All right. Yeah, thank you very much, the moderator. Before I say that, I want to put more light on the future of recycling in Nigeria. You see, the recycling industry in Nigeria lies very much in the reduction of the number of different materials being processed together and an increase in the purity of the raw material produced by the recycling process. There are a lot of gains along the value chain in recycling, from the manufacturer, that's the producer, down to the recycler. A lot of employment can be generated. A lot of impacts associated with waste can also be minimized. It is interesting to know that Nigeria is a developing economy with more importation, or let me say assemblage of goods, than outright manufacturing from natural resources. Although the federal government has developed a system through NESRA called Extended Producers Responsibility, where the producers, so to say, the manufacturer, what they produce, they buy back the waste and they recycle it. You understand? The manufacturer, they imbibe the habit or the cleaner production habits. That's the principle of conserving their raw material and energy by taking responsibility for the entire life cycle of their products. They have also come up with, in fact, presently, we are advocating what we call a movement from a linear economy to circular economy. You understand? It's a transition from linear to a circular economy. And it involves moving from cradle to cradle. The linear economy is moving from, is cradle to grave. That is, you produce, you sell your product, the consumer use it, and they throw the waste, the so-called waste, which I will not call waste. They throw it away. It has ended up in the dump site. But now we are advocating for a circular economy where you produce your product, you sell to consumer, they use it, and then they throw away the used material or they package it and resell back to you. Or the recyclers will pick it and then they recycle it to form another product. In this case, it's called from cradle to cradle. Cradle to cradle. There's no waste, there's no byproduct. You don't dispose the waste. You use it to produce another product. For instance, let me cite an example of tires. You produce tires, you use the tire up to the life cycle, then it's no longer useful. You dump it somewhere or you sell it to the recycler. They make use of it, they reconvert it to another useful product, like ties and many other things. And also another example is the PET bottle we are seeing around. They produce the PET bottle. They use it to sell some of our daily products. You use it, then you throw it away. And then they mop it up and then take it back and recycle it. That one, those ones are circular economy. They continue to move in circle. And there are a lot of value chain. There are a lot of values a lot of opportunities in the value chain along the line, because it involves the producer, the consumer, and also the collectors before you reach this recycler. A lot of employment are generated through this value chain. Like the recyclers now, they employ a lot of people, they buy machine and all those things to recycle it, and then they sell back the product to the consumers. But along the producers and the recyclers, there are a lot of opportunity there, which government is trying to explore now. Government is trying to, and there have been a lot of encouragement on that. We try as much as possible to encourage our recyclers to go about to get their raw materials, that's the waste product, so to say, to recycle and bring back to the economy. Also, the issue of polythene bags, also polyethylene, we see them littering the environment and so. There are a lot of programs going on now. In fact, in Oyo State here now, we have some waste collectors that are presently dealing with that. They move around, they pay scavengers who go about picking these products. This waste. They gather it together, they send it back to the recyclers, they use it to form pellet to make another product. This product can be used to make the sole of your shoe and many other things. So also the PET bottles. So there are a lot of gains in this system, in this kind of recycling system, which Nigeria is advocating for now through NESRA. So I think I've been able to answer part of your question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. That was very insightful. I can understand from what you said that the Nigerian government is currently using recycling as a means to creating jobs and expanding the economy. I'm correct, sir?
Yes.
Yes, sir. All right. So thank you, sir. We'll just go on to the next question. And that is still for you, sir. This ties more closely to what informal recycling and what NESRA is doing. And the question is this: So what role is Nesria playing in supporting informal sector recycling in Nigeria?
Thank you very much for that question. Like I told you, this issue of recycling in Nigeria is a kind of is at its infancy stage, which means we are growing up to know that we are supposed to be recycling our waste. A lot of countries have been doing that. Even in Africa here, I can cite example of Nairobi in Kenya. They have been recycling their polythene bag for long before even Nigeria starts recycling their own. They have been doing that. They have keyed into it because they see enormous opportunity in this. It creates job for their teeming youth. And also Nigeria, we have keyed into that and we are doing that. The scavengers, that is the collectors. Yeah, we have been doing a lot to sensitize them. We have been doing a lot. We know the government cannot just leave them alone to be picking at them. We have been doing a lot to sensitize them in terms of the impact of their activities. You understand? The impact in form of, for instance, if they are picking waste from electronic gadgets, the handset, the batteries, and all sorts of things. We have been sensitizing them not to use their bare hand, ordinary hand, to pick batteries. You understand? You cannot go about using your hand to pick batteries because you end up using the same hand to feed your family, to feed yourself, and all sorts of things. So it constitutes a kind of a health hazard, to your family. So we have been sensitizing them, kind of retraining them. We have some that we are retraining. We call them together, we group them, then we talk to them about the impact of their activities, and also we tell them how they can make better use of it to generate more money. You understand? By sorting it out. Some we just gather everything together without sorting them out. They will take it to the recycler. The recycler will start resorting. But if you are able to do the resorting, you can take the plastic content to plant A, and then the mercury content to plant B, the aluminum content to plant C, and then you make a lot of money from that, rather than modeling up the whole thing and then dump it to one recycler. So we have been sensitizing them, especially on the used batteries, and that's the vehicle batteries and the other smaller batteries. And then on the nylon, so to say, the one we call nylon, the polyethylene, we have also been doing that. In fact, we have encouraged most of the facilities to start doing the recycling. I can cite one example, the Black Horse in Ibadan. They produce plastic chairs made of polypropylene, which are more heavier. Then they take back their products through these scavengers, and then they recycle it to make other products. The scavengers go about picking all these things, and then they make money through it. And a lot of teeming youth that have no job, or maybe they have no technical skill, they are also doing that to make money, and it encourages. Thank you very much. So I think I've been able to answer.
That the government itself is doing so much to educate and to inspire people to adopt this practice of recycling. So the next question, as industry experts, now this is for Mazi Ukonu and perhaps Mrs. Mrs. Adejoke Lasisi. As industry experts, what do you think collaboration offers to the Nigerian recycling industry?
I think collaboration cannot be overemphasized because one cannot do these activities alone. And I'm happy that our regulator on this panel from NESRA has emphasized, that every part of government, every part of the society has a role to play. So you have the government through its regulatory agents playing a role, and then also the private sector participants as companies and organizations have a role to play. Individuals, households that most times use these items also have a role to play. So you see that there is, from that particular chain, there needs to be some kind of cohesion so that everybody can understand what needs to be done and we wouldn't be moving around in circles. And again, if you come into the sector where you have what I would call the recycling ecosystem, everybody has roles to play. We are today, talking about the branding of Free Recycle Limited, clearly in the aspect of tire recycling. They have a setup that leverages or collects tires, but they would also have to be able to see themselves, as it is, collaborating with entities that are out there also that have a better reach to most of where the materials are. And that is where collaboration happens. And most times you also see, that you find out that companies that you might think they do not have anything to do with recycling, but they see themselves as people that should be able to bring about social change, development in the environment that they are working with. So, and they feel like, we can be able to leverage recycling to be able to do that. And that's where they can come in and collaborate with companies. You have someone from BASF here also, and you see that as a company, as a chemical company, they see themselves also having to be able to leverage, a partnership with companies that are in this recycling space to further showcase and enlighten people about the work that they are doing. So collaboration and partnership is very, very key. And that is one of the reasons why it is identified in the Sustainable Development Goal 17 as a key part of ensuring that activities that are in this particular space that we are discussing today can be able to thrive, can be able to be sustainable and viable. And so that linkage is very, very important. And we continue from the association that I represent, the Recycler Association of Nigeria. We actually emphasize so much on collaboration within our network, and we try to be able to make sure that what one person knows and shares in the network can be able to benefit a whole lot others, so that we can actually have that synergy that will be able to make sure that in a very challenging environment like Nigeria, we can be able to do things more seamlessly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mazi Ukonu. Mrs. Adejoke, would you like to support what Mazi Ukonu is saying on collaboration?
Good day, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me for this program, and that's my organ anyway, and he has said it all, because one thing that I noticed about some other industry, we look at entertainment industry, one thing that has really helped them so far is the collaboration. And one of the ways that helped us to when we came into this industry is actually collaboration. I remembered when Auntie Jumoke Olowokere, she made this Ottoman with tire, and she got one of our materials to actually make the seat, like the clothing on it, and it was so nice. Like, it came out so good, because one of the things that I thought is that, okay, this thing is not about competition, it's about complementing each other, to making sure that, okay, you are doing something in this area, you are dealing with bottles, you are dealing with nylon, you are dealing with clothing, like everybody, because that is just the way we can achieve this goal. With that, everybody must be a part of it. So is it that you are doing this or that, collaborating together? So it's not about competition, it's about collaboration. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very insightful as well. But we just go on to the next question, and the next question is a bit more. It's a bit more tied towards our niche here at Free, and that is coming to our MD at Free Recycle. So, Mrs. Ronshu, please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, maybe. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So to shed more light on free recycle, how would you describe Free's position as an industry leader on waste tire recycling?
As a pioneer in the waste tire recycling business, it's definitely been a learning curve for us, and it's still ongoing. We've come far, but there's still a lot of ground that needs to be covered. And when we started out, because there was no existing framework in place, we're the first to do what we're doing, and there was no existing framework in place. We had to come up with our own framework and processes to get the system to run as in a way that would support our business. And let me just give one example. I can remember us applying to ManCap for a ManCap certificate. And one of the feedback we had gotten back from them was that they had, because obviously nobody was manufacturing rubber tiles or rubber pavers. They had no existing framework, no policies or documentation in place that could help facilitate the certification of our product. So we've had to to fund some of this ourselves as an organization to ensure that we could get certified to have the certification in place. And then also being a pioneer in this industry as well, I believe that we've been able to I would say we've crawled so that others can just simply walk. Let me just put it that way. We've created a benchmark, and with this benchmark, it's easier to actually seek for funding, because I remember yesterday I shared it at our name change event. When we went out there trying to get funding for our business, there was no other business out there to point to say that, okay, this business is already doing what we've set out to do. Nobody in Nigeria, nobody in Africa. And obviously, China can't possibly be, a benchmark to say, oh, they're doing this in China. It's a very, very different economy. So, being able to successfully, do this, to, start from scratch, the business plan, build the business, get the business up and running, put like a framework for every other person or other businesses that might want to buy into what we're doing right now.
Thank you. I know I've heard a lot of the Free story because I am representing Free Recycle, but that was a bit of some that I'm just here for the first time. So thank you, Ma. But we're not done with you yet. There's another one. Because of your strategic position in the industry, I hope I'm not offending Mazi Okonu. But because of your position in the industry, what would you say are some of the challenges that you've faced?
Oh, and I wouldn't see it as a challenge, and it's a good question because it is one that would enlighten most of the attendees to this program to understand and not make the same mistakes, that most of us that have like you have just had from your MD, the idea that you're coming to a space that is a niche area that hasn't really been charted before presents a lot of challenges. One that will really put us out to be able to test our tenacity and confidence in the ideas that we come up with. So, and then you come into a sector where, like she mentioned, you have to be able to enlighten people. In fact, one of the biggest challenges that I tell people now is funding is clearly required in running a lot of the activities that we need to do in the recycling space. I think it's Jumoke that mentioned how capital intensive it is when she spoke about recycling. And then you see that you need to be able to raise funds, to be able to do this. And then, the best thing that comes to mind would be to be able to take loans. And then if you go to commercial banks, you now tell them that you are doing recycling. It's a new concept to them. They don't understand. So if you don't have collateral that they can rely on, it is difficult for them to be able to give you access to funds that will be able to help do what you're doing. That's where a lot has to happen. Education has to happen. Involvement from all sectors, needs to happen for people to be able to understand the clear benefits of what recycling brings to our economy. So like the first one I've mentioned is access to finance, which is that most people don't understand what recycling is all about. You know, we've just had from Mr. Dumebi that, you know, it is a cradle to cradle activity, and we are moving from linear economy to circular economy. So these are terms that the people on the streets may not understand, and for lack of the people that even in the banks that we think, oh, maybe they need to understand it. So we need to be able to showcase it, and showcasing it most times would require some kind of program like the one we are having, and having most of them attend this to be able to hear clearly what benefit it brings. And you can see like Adejumoke, who is an expert in turning pure water sachets to very useful materials that people can be able to wear as shoes, use as bags, and use as clothes, clearly gets to redirect the idea of whoever that is throwing away that pure water sachet, that there is value in what they are doing. So I think the major thing is to be able to make sure that people get to know what we are doing, as it helps to go a long way. And then charting a course that is new, you need to be able to get the collaboration of regulatory bodies. And it is one that you had a very a useful policy that has been mentioned, you know, by Mr. Dumebi about what NESDRA's policy on extended producer responsibility is. So the EPR project is one that provides guidelines for people that are producing items to be able to, you know, get involved in the life cycle of whatever things that they are producing. And that means that they will commit to the buyback of those items that get generated after the use of their items. And it is a very big concept that is in developing countries is unique. People are leveraging it for recycling, but in our situation, it is one that is really finding it difficult, you know, to take hold, where you will call on the producers, tell them to join producer responsibility organizations. There is one currently now in the food and beverage space called the Food and Beverage Recycling Alliance. It is, despite the huge number of producers we have in the food and beverage space, I don't think they have more than 20 members in that producer responsibility organization. So this is the thing that is also becoming a challenge, where it is you are trying to be able to, you know, get people to do what they need to do. And NESDRA having to be able to provide themselves with a teeth to bite, you know, these people, they try to be also very careful, because by the time you are going after them, it looks like you are making Nigeria a very hostile place to do business. So it is like a huge challenge for us to be able to marry these whole things together. But it is something that clearly needs to be done. And then I cannot go about talking about the very challenging thing, the challenging environment that we face in Nigeria in moving around to do things. It creates a lot of cost, and most times when you find out that what you are recycling, the value after all these processes tends to exceed what it would have been when it went through a natural virgin production process, the whole idea becomes clearly overridden, because you wouldn't want to be able to produce a recycled item that is more expensive to produce, you know, having to add so many overheads like the diesel costs that comes with us running alternative power instead of having the normal stable power from the national grid. You talk about the manpower cost that comes with, you know, having non-access to automation, a huge lot of things that, you know, you see that clearly makes it challenging for you to bring down the cost or make recycling attractive. So these are the challenges that we see, but we continue to be able to make sure that we continue to push, because the idea that we continue to enlighten people about this will smoothen the process, so that it will get people that would, after each use of an item, wouldn't want to just discard it because they feel that there is value in it. And that is a very huge step in, you know, supporting the recycling ecosystem. So the challenges are there. We're praying that the government will be able to, you know, continue to look into this. Regulators come up with a lot more policies that will help ameliorate the challenges that recyclers are facing in the industry. taxis up and down, that you come in, some of them are formal, some of them are informal. We need to be able to see recycling as an essential service, because and once we see that and give the people that are in that space the cover, it will really help, progress the recycling revolution in Nigeria.
That's very well said, Martin. But just to follow up on this particular question, Mrs. Roshiwe, please, would you like to support what he has said from your unique perspective as a managing director of a recycling company?
I think Mr. President has covered almost all, but let me just add, at least particularly in our own space, one of the issues that we've had is that there's no collection network that is strong enough to support our business. We've had to build our collection infrastructure from scratch by, having to engage collectors and even aggregators in order to get those tires down to us. And this obviously has affected. I know for the PET bottle, it's becoming more saner. Collection is becoming saner and easier, but for our own process, because of the size of the tires, they are bulky, they are heavy. Sometimes it costs more actually moving them from place to place. It's actually easier to set up in an existing structure like a dump site and crush there, and then move the chrome rubber to perhaps our production facility to process them into finished products. But in our own case, given our location, we've had to rely on so a support system outside of our business to collect those tires, get them together, and bring them down to a facility. But then that also has an impact as well on the pricing of the tires, and that also has an impact as well on the quality of the recycling, because sometimes this tire at the beginning, when we started buying tires, some of those tires would come to us, we just receive them like that. And at the point of processing those tires, crushing them up, would realize that, what was left was basically just the metal chips and the metal ring and the fiber. And you've already, spent about 90 naira per piece to purchase that tire. So it was just, total waste. So we had to start putting measures in place to ensure that when these tires come in, what do we look out for? Because at the moment, we are more focused on recycling just the rubber aspect of the tire. So, we had to put a process in place to say that these are the type of tires, they have to be in this condition before we can accept them. But, if we had a better collection system, that would have all been sorted out. We wouldn't have to wait for them to get to us, for us to then start saying, we can't take this, because it's also a burden to the collector as well, having to take that back, and keep in mind that you would have had to incur the cost of renting a truck, the driver of the truck as well. So all this has a direct impact, an implication on our pricing, and I mean that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mara. Thank you for the response. The next one is we would try to look beyond the challenges. The challenges seem like there are a lot of them. But Mrs. Jumoke, are you still here?
I'm here, right here.
Okay, so the next question is for you. So what other opportunities can you identify within the recycling space in Nigeria as it exists today?
There are so many opportunities. When we're talking about recycling, like I said earlier, and like the question you asked me, it's not everybody that is going to do recycling. It's not everybody. Everybody will not have access to recycling. Everybody will not be able to afford recycling. And that is why there must be other measures. There must be other solutions, because as long as everybody is generating waste, as long as you're alive, every day you wake up, you're actually generating waste. So if you're generating waste, then you must know what to do with the waste that you're generating. If not, we are talking about circular economy here. Circular economy is not something that you talk about. It's actually a lifestyle, something that you have to incorporate into whatever it is that you're doing every day of your everyday life. Now, what we came up with at the Waste Museum is what we call our 5 R's and a U. We call it reduce, reuse, recycle, refuse, repair, and upcycle. We realize that there has to be an interaction, not only about the waste. We've been talking about waste. It's not only about waste, because waste did not fall down from heaven. Somebody is actually making the waste. Somebody is actually generating the waste. And somebody needs to look for solutions to find the solution to how the waste will not end up, whether in the landfill or in our oceans, killing all the animals and all that. So we realize that when we are talking about recycling, you're actually talking about a perfect circular economy between plants, animals, and humans living together without generating waste. So that means that you have to look at the aspect of the animals, the plants, and the materials, which is the human that is generating the materials that we're talking about. So when you're looking at opportunities, there are so many. For example, at the Waste Museum, what we do is that we showcase circular economy of zero waste of plants, animals, and human. So it means that we must begin to look at how the animals in my space and the plants in my space can both live together with the humans. Now, the waste from the animals can be used by the humans. The waste from the plants can be used by humans. Humans that are generating waste, you have to now ask yourself, the waste I'm generating, which one can I, is good for the environment and which one is not good? That is when you now begin to look for opportunities that is in it. At the museum, for example, now, we have different products that we do that is from waste. We have a garden, we install gardens for people because you cannot talk about plants or animals without talking about the things that the human being that is generating this waste will do. So opportunities, the recycling is there, upcycling product is there. Free is doing tire. We have plastics. Adejoke is doing nylon. You can see different opportunities now. Adejoke is into upcycling of pure water nylon. We are using tires. Free is using tires in recycling form, turning them with machine. We are using tires to turn into furniture, to turn into planters without machine. It means that I don't need as much money as Free needs, but I'm also another way. Now we have organic backyard garden that you can use cement bags. Okay, we have another waste that we have available is cement bags. What if we turn all the cement bags that people are generating into planters? Because in a cement bag, there's nothing you cannot grow. You can grow your yam, you can grow cauliflower, cabbage, lettuce, turmeric. So organic backyard garden is another option of generating fund. Upcycling is another function. If you're a designer, you make jewelries. There are so many waste that is available that you can turn into jewelries. You're a fashion designer. Recently, we started making rugs from the waste from tailors. That's another source of income. Imagine the amount of generation of waste fabric that tailors and designers alone are generating. And everybody wants to buy rug. Everybody wants a new rug. We can turn this waste from fabric into rugs. I can't just, I can't finish all the opportunities that we have that is in different aspects. Mazia and every other person in the nursery, they have spoken about the e-waste, they're talking about breaking it down. Now, when the nursery director was talking, and they were saying they have to break each of the materials down. Each of these materials that they are breaking down, different companies are using them. And it's also a source of income for each of those companies. So we've spoken about collaboration. Nobody can do it alone. You can't do it alone because there's so much waste and it is in so much diverse ways. And so when you look around it, you can see all these opportunities around us, and you can see that it is profitable and it's also very helpful to the environment.
Thank you, Mrs. Jumoke. That was, I feel like I would actually like a personal one-on-one with you to talk about. You seem to know a lot, especially from an SME point of view. This is very, very important because, and I mean, there's something else I even noticed. It seems like in the recycling space, everybody knows everybody because you're talking about Mrs. Adejoke and you're saying she does pure water. Mazi is talking about somebody else, and everybody knows exactly what everybody else does, and I think that's quite encouraging.
That's collaboration there. We must know each other because you can't do it alone.
collaboration.
People will bring material that you cannot use for you, so you have to look for whoever it is that needs that material and do the connection, and that is why that goal 17 is very, very important in what we're doing.
Very much, ma. Thank you very much, ma. Dr. Kintayo, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, thank you very much. We understand that you're having a very, very busy day, but I just wanted to see whether you would have something to add to this to the question that Mrs. Jumoke has just answered. I mean, this is coming from a unique perspective of a company as big as BASF. I mean, so what do you think are some of the opportunities that can be leveraged on in the recycling space in Nigeria today?
And for me, do you see my screen? I'm sharing some content, first of all.
Yes, we can see you.
Okay. So, I mean, first of all, the recycling space, it's a value chain, meaning that there are various activities along the chain which are generating value. And so, first of all, when you look at it, depending on the item that you're recycling, but I would perhaps talk about plastics because that's really where our activities is at BSF vis-a-vis the waste to chemicals project in Nigeria, where we're converting or transforming waste plastics into chemicals. So when you talk about opportunities for people, there are opportunities in the area of collection. So you can actually collect the waste. You can, after collecting the waste, you can be a processor, like a mini processor. And also you can transform on a larger scale, like we are doing at BSF, where we have reactors in place, which are then converting this waste plastics into new feedstock. So what we practice is circular economy. So more or less taking the waste and transforming them into new feedstocks that can then be reinjected into the chemical value chain to produce new products.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I can see that we already have some questions coming in from members of the audience. Please, I will beg you to hold on. After we are done with the panelists session, then we will get into the questions from the audience. So please, we ask for just a bit of patience. Still on you, Dr. Adisa. I have just another question, and it's something that somebody has, I think Mrs. Ronchiri has already answered before. Like, it actually centers more around the challenges to recycling. Now, while we are seeing, we have been able to get responses from the people in the smaller spaces, what do you think are some of the challenges from the unique perspective of an organization as large as BSF?
So I think there are a number of challenges, and one of them you could say is policy. So first of all, you know that policy will always drive the business. So for example, if you have the right policy in place, for example, if the government comes today and says that every new material produced, again, talking about plastics, should have this much recycled material, immediately that would create perhaps a market for recycling, or to also drive that. Another challenge is also finding the right technology, okay? Especially when you're operating in a field that is so, cutting edge. I'm talking about chemical recycling, and you're trying to find the right technology. So for example, for us to find the right technology for our project, we've had to screen over 200 technology providers. And we are quite lucky because we're a really big company. We have the expertise and the manpower to do that. And why do we have to screen 200 people to get just one technology, of which the same 200 guys are producing? It is for a number of reasons. And one of those is the fact that you want to operate safely. So you want to make sure that whomever the technology provider is that you eventually go with is meeting all the relevant safety requirements, because you will have something that you would deploy perhaps in communities that will be operating around 500 degrees centigrade, also at high pressure. So if something does go wrong, it could really go wrong very big. So safety is a critical component. So you need to obviously have the right expertise to identify and to basically screen your suppliers to get obviously the right technology provider. So that's another challenge. But also I would say that another challenge is, changing the mindset of the people. Someone has also spoken about that, Mazi spoke about that, in terms of educating the people to view recycling from a different perspective. Don't look at it as waste. Look at it as something that could basically generate wealth. And the moment you see it that way and the mindset changes, then the adoption would ultimately also change as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Akintayo. I have about 2 more questions, and one of them is really, really interesting. I'm thinking we should just take that one and open it down to the entire list of panelists. But the question is this: what, in your opinion, would Nigeria need to do to become a globally recognized recycling nation? And this is general, this is for everybody. As soon as we get the responses to this, then we'll take the question and answer session for members of the audience. So please go ahead.
So I think there's a few things, and I also already mentioned that earlier. So the first is policy. So there needs to be at least a level of seriousness, okay? That we're not just paying lip service to it, we're really serious about it. And again, there's a number of initiatives. For example, you have the FBRA already doing a lot of stuff, but also they need to be backed up with policy, because if they come up with a lot of initiatives and you don't have the right policy that is signed into law mandating or backing them up, then it's not really going to fly. But also, after you have that policy, then you then have the acceptance from the people, from you and I, for example. Okay, let's say, for example, one of the lines of thought is that recycled material sometimes could cost more than even virgin material. But if, even though we know that, but because we are committed to recycling, if we consciously continue to go for recycled material just because we want to support it, because we believe that it's the right thing to do, you see, that level of adoption and mindset would actually, again, help to push the industry to new heights. I think those 2 points, at least from my side, could critically change the sector and see or change how we are perceived as a nation in the adoption of recycling.
Well, thank you, sir. That's a very big deal from a very, very big company. Mazi Ukonu, would you like to chip in on this? Hello, Mazi.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know I was muted. Yes, to support what Dr. Kintayo Adisa just said, I think it is very, very important for us to be able to, continue to emphasize on the need for us to enlighten people more, when it comes to these issues about recycling and the benefit it has, and to be able to leverage whatever support that is out there, mentioning about policies, having to be able to galvanize people together. There are a lot of activities now that that is being done to showcase, the idea of recycling. Corporate companies are supporting cleanup activities. Sustainability is now being embedded in every aspect of business, where you'll be able to include things like social corporate responsibility, financial and inclusion, gender issues, and all. So I think just to emphasize that there is a core need for us to be able to continue to speak about this, to everyone, and then clearly leave this action so that at the end of this call, even maybe yourself that is handling this, you will be, be an advocate for, having to see anyone that you identify as, not being the term is not being an environmentally responsible citizen. Somebody that you see that when they finish using a particular product, they feel very at ease to be able to toss it out of the window or toss it on the street floor, or even put it in a general waste bin when it's supposed to be a recycled bin. We all need to be advocates to be able to push and change the narrative, as the benefit that comes with it would clearly support livelihood. Recycling today has become a mainstay. People are leveraging the collection of recyclables to put food on their table. And like I mentioned in the very first statement that I made, Nigeria being a consumer-driven nation, we have a lot coming on our table. So we don't need to be able to toss all those away. Let us deploy resources, technology, whatever it is, and get everybody conscious about the idea of, recycling. And that will clearly, improve our future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mazi. I would have liked to send this question as well to Mr. Obagi, but it seems he has dropped off the call. I hope he comes back before we get into the interactive Q&A session with the audience, because he would have provided a very good perspective on what the government could do to contribute to the recycling industry so that we could promote it, on a nationally competitive scale. But
let us answer that. I think because it falls on us to be able to most times engage government to be able to make sure that they do the needful. He mentioned, if you heard him clearly, that they are involved in a lot of advocacy at this time, to be able to sensitize people on what those items that they are throwing away could mean. And it clearly means that if I know that Jumoke can be able to use this item that I throw away, maybe there would be a possibility of an exchange where the item that Jumoke is actually producing can be promoted by government. you had when it was mentioned here that if there is a policy that can, I think it was Dr. Adisa that mentioned it, if there is a policy that can say for any product, you need to be able to have a percentage of recycling content in it, you will see what happens. That particular policy he mentioned, it has actually taken root in Europe now, where they say for every product, there must be a 30% recycled content in it. That immediately creates a huge market for the recycling industry. So if we have Jumoke upcycling an item that is useful, you saw her earrings, you saw her necklace, most of the items that you find with her were produced from upcycled items. And if we have that policy that tends to be able to encourage Nigerians to be able to look forward to procuring or getting these items that are produced from recycled contents from here in Nigeria, it will go a long way to be able to invigorate the sector that we are talking about. So clearly, government is actually doing their best. Like I mentioned, they come up with these policies most times, but it lacks the bite and the execution that needs to go about it, because they are looking at so many factors that will clearly mean, but there are ones that clearly need to be strategic. I think now they have come up with a policy that if you are someone that is producing a new product, before you get that product registered, you must have a clear recovery route or framework, for that particular product, else it will not be approved. So these are the things that we believe as policy. Oh, he's back. Sam, I was speaking on your behalf. So these are the things that I believe that government is already doing. Standard Organization of Nigeria, before they certify your product, right. I know NAFDAC, all of them are all working as agencies to make sure that every product that is coming into the sector now will have a framework to support its buyback. So that is what I think government is doing. And I think Mr. Bagri can enlighten more on it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Although the network cut me off, I don't really understand the question.
No, they were saying what is government doing to be able to support the idea of recycling. And I was able to stand in a bit for you to say that a lot is already happening from my knowledge, that most of the regulators are clearly putting in place frameworks that will clearly support recycling, to make sure that the new products that we are having today clearly have a recycling pathway, to them. So, but I know you have a lot more to add to that, sir.
Hello? I think Mr. Obagiri might be having network issues. Maybe why he keeps dropping on and off. But I have another question, and this is for Mrs. Jumoke. Mrs. Jumoke, there's a problem of greenwashing, maybe not in Nigeria, but globally. In your opinion, how do you think, or what do you think would be the best approach to tackling greenwashing in Nigeria?
I've never heard of greenwashing. What is that about?
Oh, okay. So when companies talk about their products being environmentally friendly and all that, but in actual fact, they've not done anything. They're as harmful as they've always been. They've made no commitments. They are just saying it because that everybody is.
That has been on. That's the normal way. Except if what the government is doing now is helping, that's also cut across sustainability events or cut across CSR. Every company is supposed to do CSR. How many companies are doing CSR? Everybody wants to talk about, oh, my product is organic, because there's no standard. My product is organic, my product is environmental friendly, but where is the standard? So if the government is trying to look into those standards now, we'll be glad. So if that is greenwashing, that's what everybody will say, oh, my product is not is environmental friendly, my product is not harming environment. But there's no standard, there's nobody sanctioning, there's nobody checking, there's nobody confirming. So I'm so glad with all the new policies that the government is putting in place that Maz is talking about ensuring that even a new company that's about to register, once you cannot give us a plan. But it's not only about just stating the plan, it's about, is somebody going to actually check that, is it being done? I pray we'll get there one day. We won't give up. We'll just keep working.
All right, thank you. Mazi, I can see that your hands are raised.
Yes, just to support Jumoke, when we talk about greenwashing, it is a big issue now that everybody wants to be identified, like she said. Everybody wants the network. Yeah, everybody wants to be identified as doing something, very unique in the waste recycling space. So, and it is the greenwashing idea has become very rampant. You find people trying to tell you they are doing what they are not doing, or they are trying to be able to do some kind of show and tell. They do projects that at the end of the day, there is no sustainability to it. So, and that is one of the things that we are trying to talk about, to say we need core activities happening in the recycling space that are sustainable. Don't come up with projects and you make us all feel all nice and good about it, and it all ends there. It becomes something that is in the drawer, white elephant projects like we call them. You have a lot of people now telling you that there are plastic bags that can be, dissolved in water. In fact, even there are ones that you can even dissolve and drink, all those kind of stuff. So we want to be able to see, as much as they are novel ideas, we want to be able to see them take root. So selling an idea that is not sustainable by corporates so that they can continue to do business is what we understand as greenwashing. And a lot of corporates have deployed that idea now to be able to look good in the sight of consumers. But we are emphasizing on the need for us to be able to have core ideas and projects that will clearly leverage to be able to sustain the recycling economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mazi. Thank you, Mazi. I am sure in time we would have a sustainable solution to this problem. Mrs. Roche, would you like to say anything about this problem as well?
Okay, I was actually waiting to get our regulator or lecturer's take on that, but just to add to what Mazi has said, even as recyclers, we also have a part to play in this, because speaking in terms of collaboration, there are instances as well where large corporates would let's not use the word pretend. They act like they're about to partner. They're going to partner with recyclers, and they roll out. It's all out there in the news. But they talk, but they're not walking. They're not doing the work. We're not seeing the work. So we also have our part to play in ensuring that when we are partnering, we're partnering with the right people. We're collaborating with the right people who share our vision, who share our passion. And I mean, there's just so much that can be done. When we walk the walk and talk the talk with the right people.
All right, thank you, Ma. I'm sure across every sector of the industry, from the small players to the medium to the big players, if we all come together and take a stance, I'm sure we will be able to come up with an approach that cannot be basically a foolproof approach to defeating greenwashing, and perhaps we'll have a better word for it. So before we go on, I would just like to take a few of the questions that have coming from our attendees. We have Olaoluwa Oladimeji. Olaoluwa is asking what industry specifically would be the best strategic targets for collaboration efforts. Now, would you want to take that? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear
Mazi,
you.
please. Okay, so we have a question from somebody in the audience. It's asking what industries specifically would be the best strategic targets for collaboration efforts.
Okay, so again, there is no particular industry. Dr. Adisa mentioned about the value chain. So for every particular item, there is a value chain attached to it. And NESRA has come up with a guideline called the Extended Producer Responsibility. In that guideline of Extended Producer Responsibility, EPR, there is what is called Producer Responsible Organizations, PRO. And they have started forming those PROs. I heard when Dr. Adisa mentioned the Food and Beverage Recycling Alliance. There's also one at the moment called EPRON. I think it has to do with the Electronic Recycling Organization. And then there is also one for battery. There is also one for other kinds of waste. So strategically, it is important to be able to identify organizations within the value chain and reach out to them for collaboration. Clearly, there must be, before you reach out to them for collaboration, you must clearly have an idea of what you want them to collaborate on. So it is important to be able to clearly identify these organizations. Most of them, it's easy now to reach out to them. You go to the website, to the online and Google, and you get their contact details. So, but those producer responsibility organizations are clearly core, to harnessing activities in the recycling space. And the Food and Beverage Recycling Alliance is one that I feel has been doing a lot of work. And also EPRON has also been doing a lot of work in the electronic space. So these two, inside them, you have organizations that they are clearly enforcing, and they will be the ones to, help, push out that collaboration as being opined. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mazi. As always, maybe I should just say it becomes, the more you speak, the more obvious it becomes why you are the president of the Recyclers Association of Nigeria. You're very insightful. So thank you to everybody. We have another question here from a member of the audience. Now they are asking, Mrs. Runshiwe, this one is specifically for you. The question is, what inspired your strategy on developing the process of free recycle?
Okay. Thank you very much, Jumebi. I think this is one story that I've shared a couple of times, and it was just it was an idea born. It was born out of necessity to tackle what was being done with waste tires. Because of the sizes of these tires, they are heavy and they are quite bulky. Usually, what happens over time to free up spaces in the landfills, we usually results to burning. And I know that, okay, thankfully, no one from Loma is on this call. They usually don't like it when we say that these tires are sometimes they result to burning these tires, but we've seen that happen a couple of times. And we all know what impact this has on the environment in terms of CO2 emission and air pollution, amongst other things. So that was one of the reasons why we decided to start with waste tire recycling. And aside from that, also, we were particular about recycling an item that, several parts of the material being recycled could be utilized for other things. They were, could basically be useful in producing other things. So take, for instance, currently we work with the rubber that we get from our recycling process, but for each tires that we actually recycle, we don't get just the rubber. We also, one of the products that we get is the metal rings, the metal chips, and the fiber. Currently, we have plans in the nearest immediate future to start recycling the metal chips and the metal ring that we get from our recycling process. That's an entire value chain on its own. It's another business line. There are a lot of opportunities there. Currently, we have scrap collectors who collect these metal chips and the metal waste, and they use them for manufacturing of some other things, such as staple pins, and just some other form of small items that can be made with this. Yeah, and then another waste that you can also get, another product that you can get from the tire recycling process is also the fiber. Currently, we're working to see how this can also be recycled into a product, but at the moment we're more or less upcycling it because we're using them to make stuffed bean bags that can serve as seaters, furniture. So this is just, I think this is one of the reasons why we actually settled for and started with these tires.
All right. So thank you, Ma. I feel like we've come to the end, or at least the concluding part of our session today, and it has been, personally for me, it has been very eye-opening to hear people from the business sectors, from the regulatory section, from the civil society organizations like Recyclers Association of Nigeria. It has been an experience, and we thank everybody who has shown up so far. We thank everybody, all the attendees as well, especially those who sent in their questions. We have a few more questions, but I feel like the time is already fast spent. So to all our panelists, from Mazi Ukono, Mrs. Adejoke, from Mr. Obagiri, our guy at the top, and to Mr. To Dr. Akintayo and Mrs. Jumoke, we thank you all. And a very special thank you as well to our MD, Mrs. Yoshiri. So thank you to everybody who has shown up. Thank you for taking the time to honor our invitation. Thank you for all the ideas and all the inspiration that you provided to us. I'm sure because of you and because of the conversations that we're having today, the recycling industry in Nigeria will be a lot better for it. So, Mrs. Yoshiri, please, would you like to offer any closing remarks?
Oh, yes. Thank you very much, Jimmy B. I'd like to just say thank you once again to everyone, most especially our president, Mazi Okono. I know you have such a busy schedule, but for you to to take out time to just join us, and honestly, there's a lot more to be learned. I have learned a couple of things from this session, from you, from Mrs. Jumoke Olowokere, from Adejoke Lasisi, Dr. Akintayo. It's been a wonderful session. Our Oga Nesria, thank you so much, and hopefully we get to do this, more. And thank you once again to the attendees as well.
All right, thank you, Ma. Sorry, before our panelists go, we just want you to do us a little favor. Everybody, please turn on your videos so that we can get a little bit, just a screenshot of everyone who's shown up here today. We're going to have it posted on all our social media outlets, and in the event that it gets carried over by the BBCs and the Reuters of this world, we would like to have your identities shown there. All right, so thank you. I am going to take the screenshot now, and thank you, everybody, especially our guys at the top. Mr. Bagiri, I'm sure you had a lot of network issues. This is why we're dropping on and off, but you know that we had some important questions or important suggestions I would have liked to hear from the government itself. But thank you to everybody who has shown up, and hopefully we'll have another session again sometime soon.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. It's been a wonderful time. I've learned so much also. Thank you.
Thank you.